Tropical Storm Beta is nearing landfall. Hello, I'm Mike Naso with the latest on the tropics. You can see there's the latest on Beta as of 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern from the National Hurricane Center. Winds are down to only 45 miles per hour. It is moving northwest at 5, and it's at 28.2 north, 96.1 west. Again, it looked like it might become a hurricane briefly about 24 hours or so ago, and then it just kind of fell apart quick. And it looks like it's going to slug on shore somewhere near Port O'Connor, Texas, where you guys have already had winds gusting over tropical storm force. However, we do have a tropical storm warning from Port Aransas all the way over to Morgan City, and we did have tropical storm conditions along the Louisiana coast. I'll talk about that in a sec. You can see the forecast here has Beta moving in, and then slowly dragging here off to the northeast, and maybe even making another landfall as a tropical depression in Louisiana. And then by Thursday and Friday, beginning to move a little bit quicker over Mississippi. But again, it could stay inland, it could stay more offshore, but it doesn't look like any strengthening of any significant magnitude would happen, even if it moved back offshore. I mentioned those tropical storm winds. There's been some nasty conditions here over the last 24 hours, from water rises to gusty winds along the south coast of Louisiana. So as Beta moved up and passed to your south and west, you did get buffeted. You can see a lot of the tropical storm winds are in Texas and not in Louisiana, but that could be changing if the system drags to the northeast. Here's the latest satellite imagery. This is the infrared, and you can see very good news to report. There is very little in the way of deep thunderstorm, cold cloud tops with this tropical system. It's got a lot of cool, dry air, and the wind shear is just keeping it in check, and that's why Beta was not able to become a hurricane. A good thunderstorm cluster off Louisiana here. This is producing some heavy rain offshore. Don't be surprised if more rain falls right along the Gulf Coast. Here's a look at the spaghetti model plots. Now, some of them do want to bring it more into Kentucky and the Ohio Valley within the next 3 to 5 days, which would be good news to get it up and out. You don't want it just sitting there for days on end, because that would prolong a flood threat. However, they do show this hook to the right, so it looks like Beta's track at the end of the day will be up, right, up, left, up, right. Pretty crazy stuff, and definitely a sign of weak steering currents. Here's the radar out of Houston, Galveston. There's the center. You can see very poorly defined. It is about 20 to 25 miles offshore Port O'Connor, so it looks like the official landfall will happen sometime this evening or tonight. But again, you can see a lot of the wet weather already moving on through Victoria and areas of Houston, Galveston, to say nothing of these stronger storms offshore here headed right for Galveston Bay. That is the main threat with Beta, although you can see these rainfall estimates have dropped. A day or two ago, we were talking 15, 20 inches. You can see this is more 6 to 10. Nevertheless, if they fall on saturated ground, you could have a flood threat, and that is the main threat with Beta right now. Not the winds, but the flooding. You can see a moderate threat in areas here along the Texas coast, as well as over here in the south-central Louisiana coastline. As I mentioned, we've had water rises of 1 to 3 feet, maybe even higher. So areas near Intercoastal City, Vermilion Bay, Houma, this whole southern and southeastern Louisiana coast has really had a lot of onshore flow as Beta moved to the west south of you, and that caused a pileup of water. Of course, the highest surge will be between, say, Port Aransas and Sabine Pass, right where the center makes landfall. Galveston Bay, 2 to 4 feet. Matagorda Bay, San Antonio Bay, 2 to 4 feet. So again, a definite wet tropical cyclone, no doubt about that. Hurricane Teddy, a powerful hurricane, still a Category 1, 90, but it is getting larger in size. It's moving north very quickly at 23. It's at 33.2 north, 62.0 west. We do have watches and warnings out. I wanted to go through them. A tropical storm warning for the south coast of Nova Scotia from Digby to Meat Cove. And we also have tropical storm watches in effect from Meat Cove to Tidnish, north of Digby to Fort Lawrence, as well as for areas like Newfoundland and Prince Edward Island. So this is all in anticipation. Look at this wind field. That is a huge storm, and Teddy could actually grow even more in size. So I would not be out in the water. Any ships or boat interests need to be pulling into port because Teddy is headed their way. By the time early Wednesday comes along, we should see a landfall in Nova Scotia. It should be transitioning from a tropical hurricane into an extratropical cyclone, but still a powerful cyclone headed all the way up towards Greenland by the time the weekend comes around. You can see that is the forecast, and it even dances up here in some of the models, and we might have to deal with it later on if it drags over as a powerful extratropical storm. Here's the radar out of Bermuda, and you can see Bermuda here, and you guys are not in the rain shield of the hurricane. It passed to your east. Thankfully, you didn't get the lashing like you got with Hurricane Paulette. So in the final analysis, those are our two storms. You can see Tropical Storm Beta coming ashore this afternoon, evening, along the Texas coastline. Very good cloud pattern, but very ill-defined as far as convection, and never became a hurricane. Nevertheless, a heavy flood threat along the Gulf Coast. And there you can see Hurricane Teddy just missing the island of Bermuda to the east, expected to slam into Nova Scotia as a hurricane or even an extratropical storm, non-tropical, but still hurricane winds. So a very active tropical Atlantic. We could be in the time frame here of the next, say, 10 days having a slowdown. So if we do get a slowdown, things could get quiet, but there is a chance that some of the long-range models show by the first week of October, maybe second week, we could have more hurricanes. So keep an eye on the tropics. That's the latest right now on Beta and Teddy. I'm Mike Naso. I'll talk to you guys next time.